Hi beautiful souls, this is Nini aka SoulStardivinefeminine. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another missing case report. Spirit was talking to me a lot today. We've been going through so much because of this Scorpio new moon that we're dealing with right now. Just after the Saturn return, there's Mercury going into retrograde. There's a lot of energies, a lot of recalibration, a lot of quantum jumping, quantum leaping, a lot of releasing, a lot of purging in a different way than the collective has experienced so far. But today Spirit guided me to do another missing case, and it's another case that I haven't heard of, and this is a beautiful young girl called Nora, and I might butcher the way you pronounce her last name, so I'm really sorry to her family and to her soul, which I know is listening to me right now as I'm recording this. Oh, whoa. Okay. I was just wow, sorry. I've got butterflies. I was just, I guess, getting into a deeper meditative state, and I was just connecting and talking to Nora's soul, and I swear to you, I just saw her sitting on the bed. If you guys have never seen me before, then I channel spirits, I channel messages from spirit, psychic medium, all of those types of labels to describe what I do, my abilities that I've activated and awakened within myself. This is going to be to provide a lot more justice and awareness about her story, the tragic things that have happened to her in her life, and to help you guys in case you ever see or have people in your life that you're going on holiday with, that you may need to be a lot more alert about situations like this that can occur. And also just providing a lot more justice and awareness for her own story and her own personal life. I'm thinking of maybe channeling her at the end, maybe through myself or maybe through the use of tarot cards, but we'll see when we get to it. But this is the story about Nora Quoirin, which I hope I'm pronouncing correct. Okay, thank you, Spirit. And this is the story of her disappearance, her potential abduction, and how and why her body was found just only 10 days after her going missing. So if you guys are interested in this kind of story experience, or want to help provide more justice and awareness of what this story actually entails, then keep on watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I have set up a candle here, right here, a white candle, and I've covered it in lodestone. If you guys can see that, I've covered it in some lodestone, and I've done a prayer and set intentions to cut. And the reason why I set intentions and covered it with lodestone is as I'm manifesting and attracting the wish to be granted. There's still fireworks going on because it's the end of Diwali, so if you hear fireworks, that's what it is. But I've set the intentions to provide a lot of justice, happiness, peace, and healing for her and her family, because there's just a lot of dark grey areas and potholes in this whole story, and a lot of things just don't make sense. So we're going to light this candle now together. Thank you, candle. Okay, so I know that from Spirit, the Divine, Nora, I've been given permission to share her story, and if I, as I said, if I feel guided to at the end, then I may channel messages directly from her and her soul, or just through me as a vessel, or through the use of tarot cards as well. Disclaimer before I start this video, I'm sending so much love and light and healing supportive energy to this family and all of those involved, and for anyone watching who's ever had anything like this happen to them, or who still have people that are missing in their lives, or who have been murdered, or have been abducted, or any of those horrific circumstances that none of us wish to ever go through in this human life. I'm merely sharing awareness of this case because I channel a lot of messages from the collective, from spirit all the time, whether it's through my tarot readings for twin flames, whether it's for myself when I'm going through my own growth, pain, healing, ascension, helping other people heal in so many different ways. And I know that my spirit's been guiding me to step up in this raising awareness and providing a lot of justice for the collective for over a year now, which first started off when Kanika Jenkins channeled through me last year in my bathroom, which you guys would have seen that whole story time on my spiritual pregnancy video, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, spiritual pregnancy and ascension symptoms, all of that is linked down below. But I spoke about how spirit was already guiding me to step up for myself, for the collective, to provide a lot more justice for people and the things that go on that most of us don't really pay attention to. So I'm really trying to raise awareness on this case. I was only egotistically biased of just talking about missing cases so we could find people now that haven't been found. And spirit guided me towards this case of Nora, and the first few things I researched: missing since the 5th of August, missing since the 4th of August. And then during my research, I found out she has actually been found. However, spirit still wants me to raise awareness on this case because there are so many loopholes, so many grey areas, and this can literally happen to anyone. So, quick disclaimer, I'm sending so much love and light and healing to everyone involved in this experience, even the people search and rescue, and anyone that is going through this now or has gone through this. I'm merely doing this on my platform to raise awareness, to provide a lot more justice for this beautiful soul called Nora and anyone else who has been involved in this. Sometimes in life, things happen that we cannot control and it can affect us for the rest of our lives, and this seems to be one of those cases. So please understand this is for educational purposes, awareness, and to provide a lot more justice and healing and love and light in the world in general, and especially for Nora and her family. So let's get on with the case. So, who is Nora Quoirin? I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Who is Nora Quoirin? She is a beautiful 15-year-old girl from London in England. Now, Nora described as really sweet, really gentle, and she's also just described from her family as being the complete heart center of their family and just bringing like divine love and light and innocence to her family on a day-to-day basis. Now, Nora was born with learning difficulties, a neurological disorder called holoprosencephaly, or holoprosencephaly. I really hope I'm not butchering that, but I probably am. This neurological disorder that Nora had would affect her brain development. And in result of this, her family has said that she wasn't independent. She would never go anywhere by herself. She was always by one of their sides, whether it was her mum, her dad, or her siblings. So this is one thing I really want you guys to get straight into your mind from the get-go. Nora would never ever go anywhere by herself. And she also had trouble walking. So she was always quite dependent on her family supporting her through her own condition that she was born with. But she was still an amazing, like really bright, sweet girl. And I'm saying that because I can literally feel her energy pouring through me right now. And I can't stop smiling because she's so sweet and so caring. And she's extremely innocent, extremely vulnerable, and extremely gentle. So I think this is one of the biggest reasons why she was completely and utterly the heart of her family unit. So her family, like most of us, during the summertime, we always end up going on typical summer holidays because most of us end up having to work the whole year until you get that break, normally the end of July or mid-July in some cases, till normally the very start of September. And then normally your parents will be like, okay, kids are off school, so let's take them on a summer holiday. So that's exactly what happened with Nora and her family. So they decided to go on a long haul trip all the way from London to Malaysia. They ended up at the Eco Resort, and they arrived there on the 4th of August this year, 2019. So this case has only just recently happened, so the family is grieving a lot. This is still very fresh information, fresh wounds. This whole situation is pretty raw. So Nora and her family were so excited to go on this 2-week trip of a lifetime. That is how they described it, because they had never gone so far before. They'd never gone to somewhere like Malaysia before, and they were going to a really amazing eco forest. Now this was set on 12 acres in Malaysia, which is only about 39 miles, if I remember correctly, from Kuala Lumpur, which most people go to when they're visiting Malaysia. But as I said, this was set, this Dusun resort is actually set on a 12-acre orchid forest, which is just so amazing. I know most people love going into forests, especially full of orchids. They're such a beautiful flower. And the family was all excited, gathered up and ready to live their best lives on this trip. They had booked into the resort and arrived there on the 3rd of August 2019 this year. So they arrived on the 3rd 3rd of August, and all settled in, excited, and the kids were all put into one room upstairs. And now come to the next day, Sunday the 4th of August, her dad goes to check on Nora and the rest of the siblings, and this is when he discovers her missing at 8 a.m. on Sunday the 4th of August. And he also noticed and discovered that there was also a window open. Now straight away, obviously, as you would be as well, whether it was your sibling or friend, her dad kind of went into a frenzy and a panic, and he immediately reported it to the cops at 8 a.m. when he realized that she wasn't there. Her dad, which I completely forgot to mention, her parents, Mabe and Sebastian, were and are Nora's parents. Now the police instantly said they couldn't see any sorry, I'm just moving my plant. The police instantly said that they couldn't see any foul play or any type of interference or crime of a break-in or any of that sort in their actual hotel residence. So the police started a search party straight away for Nora, and with the potential of it being an abduction. However, her parents, Maeve and Sebastian, were very insistent that this is not something that Nora would or ever has done. Like, she would never do this. This is completely out of her character. The condition that I mentioned to you that Nora actually has, or had in this case, is a condition that left her struggling with everyday to-day tasks that we would normally do, also affecting her walking, as I said, and especially her coordination. She had also just been coming off an 18-hour flight from London to Malaysia. She was exhausted, she was shy, she was scared, she was very vulnerable, and she was extremely dependent on her parents helping her with everyday tasks. And they said that knowing who she was and is, there is no way on earth that she would get up in the middle of the night and try and facilitate either going out of this window or somehow getting out of the hotel residence by herself. That's not something that she's ever done. So they kept on reminding the police of that. The police instantly said what they could see. They looked like there was no foul play, but they still went ahead with the investigation with the potential of it being an abduction. Now, at first, they started out with 2 search teams by the local people, the Orang Asli, who were also joined by 2 shamans in the operations for searching for Nora, because they understood the jungle terrain and knew it off by heart. So they went in first as part of the teams of the operation alongside these 2 shamans. So this ended up actually going quite mainstream really quickly on the news, on so many articles like The Mirror, The Sun, BBC, the Metro. It started going everywhere, especially because this is a huge international case, similar to the Madeleine McCann case, but not as highly spectated. So on the 5th of August, the Malaysian police started announcing that they were treating Nora's disappearance as a potential abduction, but that there was no foul play involved for them to really suspect it. But it also seemed very strange knowing of her condition and how she was given her parents' information. Now, this turned into a massive search. There were hundreds and hundreds of people searching in the heat, in the jungle, on this 12-acre orchid resort. As this case started getting more and more attention in the public eye, the search started to increase a lot more because people were feeling their heartstrings being pulled. Because it's such a horrific thing to read and see and understand that somebody is going through that experience right now, when not only are they missing a child, but they're also missing a child who cannot actually look after themselves either, because it just puts you in a state of like, oh my gosh, they're even 10 times more vulnerable than an ordinary child would be, and an ordinary child is vulnerable enough, and Nora is a special beautiful child. So it just made them even more scared about her conditioning, her whereabouts, where she could be in this strange new foreign country which is so far away from anything she's ever known, in an eco resort. So there ended up being 350 people actually searching for Nora in this jungle right by the resort. Comes to the 6th of August, a day later after this, her family are still insistent that they know 100% in their hearts, their minds, their intuition, that Nora has been abducted. As I said earlier, this is completely out of her character. She cannot even walk properly by herself. She's very dependent on her parents supporting her in her day-to-day life. And on top of that, she was extremely exhausted and tired from an 18-hour flight. So none of this logically makes sense, which is why I said at the beginning, there's a lot of loopholes and grey areas in this storyline that's been portrayed to us via the news sources. So her parents become really insistent about the fact she's been abducted, and the case starts being treated as such. Now at this point, Nora's already been missing for a considerable amount of days, and her parents are getting even more worried. They're saying that their hearts are breaking and that Nora is so precious to them, they just want her to be back and safe and returned. And this started spreading like wildfire over Facebook and loads of social media. The Quoirin family was actually able to raise a lot of awareness and raise a lot of funds. Now as time progressed and got further and further along, it reached now the 11th of August and they still hadn't found Nora. This is over 7 days after she's gone missing, or was to be found to go missing, because even in my mind I'm thinking she could have gone missing on the 3rd of August, but it's just that her dad didn't discover her until the 4th of August on the morning. So we don't know whether or not at this point, and we still don't know because there are so many loopholes which I haven't even got to yet, we don't know if she went missing on the 3rd of August at night time after they checked in, settled in and started to go to bed, or if she got abducted or taken or disappeared on the 4th of August in the super early morning, like maybe 2, 3, maybe even 6 a.m. before her father went to go and check on her to presumably wake her up and be like, hey sunshine, let's go and have breakfast, what do you want to do on your first day in Malaysia? Which is just so sad and heartbreaking, seriously. It's actually really like, I know I'm an empath, so I feel a lot like everything is my own, but it's actually really hard to even discuss cases like this or even read about them without completely breaking down and crying, which is why you guys are seeing so many cuts as well, because it's just like, I'm trying to stay strong when I'm even spreading awareness on this case, but it's really like it's just really hard, as I'm sure it's probably really hard for you guys hearing this, even if you're not an empath. Everyone has empathy. That's why I'm just, even though I've got my amethyst here, it's like I need a bigger amethyst just to cling on to whilst I'm channeling these messages towards you guys. Hence why I've got all my crystals, the candle, crystal ball, my plants, trying to protect myself in divine love and light while I'm spreading these messages of justice and awareness and just also horrificness to you guys. Yeah, so I'm sorry if this is depressing you right now. I'm really sorry, but hopefully we can be able to find out more information and help bring justice. Now this is where it gets kind of confusing. I've done a lot of research on Nora. Like if you see my laptop right now, I have I think about what 12, 13 tabs open, researching loads of stuff about her and everything that's happened. But this is where it gets confusing, because after the police set up the hotline, which they set up on the 11th of August, they set up a hotline to receive a lot more information about her, if anyone in Malaysia had seen her or anyone that looked like her at the time. And of course everything's going crazy on social media, especially Facebook, and people are sending their love and prayers, and people are, you know, commenting like, oh, I know this girl, she was in my area. After that, on the 12th of August, some sources say there was a £10,000 reward donated by an anonymous Belfast business that was made available to help the case to bring Nora's safe return back to London. But then another source says that actually her parents, Mabe and Sebastian, actually put up £10,000 themselves to help the case. So maybe it's just the way that people have worded stuff in these sources, but either way, there was a £10,000 reward put towards the case to help Nora return home safely. Now, during this whole investigation, they still haven't found their daughter. And of course, at this point, the family had only booked a two-week trip, and it was supposed to be literally a trip of a lifetime for the whole family involved. And of course, now, literally from the first day, the first official full day that they were going to have as a family, their whole world is completely turned upside down. It's like the worst of the worst of the worst that you could ever even fathom. And even then, I don't really think people really fathom their child going missing at a resort in the middle of the night from the actual hotel residence. Like, people are very cautious when they're on holiday, as you should be. Of course, people are extra cautious when they're on holiday for themselves and 10 times more when they have children, as you should be, because we don't want these cases like this to exist. But you would normally be extra cautious when you're out of your hotel room, like when you're in the lobby, when you're out on an excursion, when the kids want to go and play in the paddling pool right there, and you're sitting over here watching them and monitoring them, and you're making sure you're not looking at your phone too much just in case they go. Like, normally when you're in your hotel residence, you lock your door, you put all your stuff in your safe or in your or in your suitcase, and you guys are safe and secure in that hotel room. You would never expect that your daughter would be there when you say goodnight to her, baby, and then you wake up the next morning and she's gone. So this completely and utterly, like, it just completely turned their world upside down. It broke their hearts. It's still breaking their hearts. It's just something that is so hard to fathom when you've just gone on a holiday, you've just arrived in a new country, you're all excited, you want to have this best, most amazing freaking trip, and then you wake up the next day and it's just like, your heart's just been ripped out. Like, that's how I feel even talking about this. It's like your heart has just completely been ripped out, and you suddenly have to catch up to the mental and emotional trauma of this whole scenario. Now, during this time of this investigation, where everyone was trying their best to try and find Nora, so many hundreds of people were going up and down these jungles, over these acres, to really try and find her, because there were rivers nearby. It was all different types of rock, hilly rocks, steep hills, everything a jungle is in Malaysia, it was that and is that. So many people were out searching for her a lot. Now, bearing in mind, nothing like this has ever happened in this area, in this resort, as far as I can find, until this happened. So a lot of the people that were volunteering and helping out, even down to the Malaysian police, even down to Scotland Yard, who ended up joining in the search, a lot of these people, that they weren't used to, you know, scrounging around, like trying to find people for 10, 12, sometimes even 13, 14 hours in the jungle, in the heat, with very limited resources and very limited water and facilities. Like, so they were doing their best. Now, during this time, there was a lot of crowdfunding put up to help Nora return home safely, because, as I said, it was pulling at the heartstrings of everyone involved. Like, and when I say everyone involved, I mean anyone that it touched on Facebook, on Twitter, reading it in the Metro. It was affecting a lot of people. So there was a lot of crowdfunding put into place to help her return safely, especially with all the costs that the family had acquired doing the search for Nora. So over £100,000 had been raised on a crowdfunding page that Nora's aunt had actually set up, and also her uncle had set up another crowdfunding page which helped people pay with only euros, and he actually managed to raise just over 16,000 euros. And this helped cover the costs that the family had incurred over this 10-day search. As I said, a lot of people got involved in this case, including Scotland Yard, but also the National Crime Agency, aka the NCA, as well as the Met Police, the Irish and the French police, all supported this case and helped in the operation to find Nora. Now, we're reaching the 13th of August, and up until this point, this has already been 9 days of literally crying, so many tears, heartaches, heartbreaks, searching up and down these jungle terrains. Now, we're reaching the morning of the 13th of August, and once again, they're going out massive search parties to try and find Nora, hoping and praying that they would find her. And sadly, on the 13th of August, Nora's body was actually found. Even saying that, it's hitting me like a ton of bricks. So you can only imagine the kind of pain and suffering that her parents and family were going through at that time, and that's still going through now. Like, the whole thing is just, it's like a horrible, crazy whirlwind of just really dark emotions, and your worst fears that you don't even allow yourself to think come to life. Now, this is where it gets really confusing, and this is another reason why I'm spreading awareness on this case, and why her parents, especially her parents, but her family in general, are still, they have so many questions about what on earth actually happened to their daughter and how this could even happen, and they're still wanting to investigate and go in further as to why and how their daughter's body was found dead. Now, there is so much confusion as to how she died, the way she died, and none of this makes sense, and we're going to get into it. So Nora's physical body was found only 1.6 miles away from the actual resort itself, in the jungle. Now, this is where it's like, frustrating as hell, because where her body was found was in a place that all of the searchers had already searched, literally. And there were so many people in the operation of finding Nora, and it ended up actually being some of the volunteers that found her body. Extremely heartbreaking for all of those searching for Nora, because as I said, this case brought so many people worldwide together, and so many people were searching for Nora. And two of the girls saw her from a certain distance and were crying hysterically and couldn't even go near the body. Now this is where it gets even weirder because of the way that Nora was found. So Nora's heads were on her hands as if she was laying down in the actual riverbed, which is where she was found. She looked as if she was asleep, but apparently everyone knew instantly that she was dead. She was lying down and she was appearing to be what looked like sleeping on her hands, with her hands on her head. She did have some scratches and bruises on her arms and legs. However, there are no other indications of any type of foul play or physical ailments happening to her, or that had happened to her, sorry. So some of the volunteers, including the ones that had actually found her, expressed their concerns about saying that they think that Nora's body had actually been moved, not just because of the fact that they had already searched that area as a whole, like the operation, but also due to the fact that the way she was lying down, like resting with her hands on her head, it looked like she had been placed there. And other people were guessing that maybe she had gone to the riverbed, to the stream, to actually go and get some water. Now, in the postpartum results, there's still confusion on exactly how she died, but they're indicating that she was dead from probably 2 to 3 days before her body was found. Some people also started speculating that maybe because she was missing in the jungle and couldn't necessarily find her way back to the hotel resort, whether or not she was abducted or went of her own accord, which I personally don't believe she went of her own accord, just because of her conditioning. And not even just because of her conditioning. I don't believe that she went regardless of her conditioning or not, because I don't think a 15-year-old girl in a random country like Malaysia, it was completely and utterly different to anything you've ever been to before. I don't think you would leave your hotel residence in the middle of the night and then go up in the jungle. I just do not see that happening in any type of capacity. But some people were theorizing that maybe while she was in the jungle, if she was struggling to find her way back to the hotel and she was starving, no food, no water, maybe she hiked up to the stream to get water. But even her parents and a lot of the volunteers and people in the search parties were saying that the trail is not easy. It is a very difficult terrain to actually get to the space where her body was found, and that even a very abled physical person would find it hard, let alone a girl who's only 15 who has this condition. So this just created even more confusion, even more questions for every single person involved that were actually there in the search party, and everyone that was involved from the whole world that was actually tuning in and trying to help find this girl in any way, shape or form that they could, from retweeting, from reposting on Facebook, to, actually spreading awareness in different ways via face-to-face, as well as actually donating funds to help the search party continue. And one big thing I really want to point out, not only was her head on her hands and she was lying down as if she was sleeping in a riverbed, she also had no clothes on. And this is another thing where different sources are saying different things. One source is saying that she was just in her underwear, which is like massive question mark. And then another source is saying that she had no clothes on whatsoever. Most sources are saying that she had no clothes on whatsoever. So why is a 15-year-old walking out of her hotel residence in the middle of the night to go into the jungle to end up lying down in a riverbed naked? No one does that. No 15-year-old does that. No one does that. Like, no one does that. I truly believe that somebody has taken her, and I don't know exactly what has happened, but she was found with her head in her hands with no clothes on in the riverbed, and apparently she had been dead for at least 2 to 3 days. Now, the actual coroner hasn't been able to fully indicate exactly how she died. They don't know where the bruises and scratches have come from. I don't even think they've done any type of DNA tests at this point. But the police at this point, even now, believe that Nora jumped out of her bedroom window. So I don't know what you guys are thinking about this. Obviously, comment down below and let me know what you think. Some of the information I found about the actual autopsy, postpartum autopsy, was that they gathered that they think that she ruptured an ulcer in her intestine due to the prolonged starvation, or possibly all the stress of, once again, being in a foreign jungle without anyone there, let alone someone that she recognized, apparently caused some bleeding in her system, and that's what they think actually killed her. But it hasn't been completely confirmed that that is the thing that killed her. Now, another thing that even the Malaysian police have also said is when they found Nora, there were no footprints anywhere to be found at all. Like, there were no footprints that matched her. So some people have theorized, and some people believe, that maybe she was walking in the stream itself for a really long time and ended up landing there, falling there, being placed there, because the stream itself wasn't that deep, and they haven't been able to find any footprints leading up to where she was actually found. But due to the fact that she was found with absolutely no clothes on, the police are now looking into all angles of this investigation, of any type of criminal evidence that could be, or that could shed light on what's actually happened to her due to the really unusual circumstances of this whole ordeal. Now, as I said, this case actually brought everyone together, like the French to Malaysian, Irish, Scottish, all together. And everyone felt empathy, complete and utter empathy for Nora and her family, and all trying to search for her. Now, because of the confusion with the postpartum, because they still didn't think it completely definitively defined how she died, the Quoirin's actually got a lawyer, and I think even now, I think they're still trying to inquest more into her death with the Malaysian police themselves. And some people are speculating that the people that were in the search party could have done a better job because they maybe missed vital clues in the first few days, or maybe even the whole 10-day search. However, as I said very early on, this was something completely new to most of the people involved in the search party. This isn't something they've ever had to do before, and there were also extremely limited resources like water and food in really, really hot weather. So this was a huge ordeal for all people involved anyway, and they were trying their best. So on most of the reports that you'll see, it does say that she died of the intestinal bleeding, which probably was from prolonged stress or prolonged hunger. However, due to the scratches and the bruises and all the weird circumstances of how Nora was actually found, they have taken samples of her for further analysis so they can determine more of a real picture of what on earth actually happened with her, to her, because it's just a huge question mark. It's so many question marks. As I said, of course, as you already know, Nora's family is absolutely distraught. They said that Nora is, her parents, Mabe and Sebastian, said that Nora is like the truest and most precious girl that they've ever had, and their hearts are just completely and utterly broken. But they thanked every single person for actually helping in the search and raising donations and raising awareness, and obviously volunteering and helping out. A book of condolence was opened on Wednesday at City Hall in Belfast, where Nora's mother is from, with John Finucane, the Lord Mayor of Belfast, and he was the first to sign it. He said the teenager's death was heartbreaking and praised the clear and positive show of solidarity from the Belfast public. And a special service was held earlier in the week at the South Belfast Church, where Nora was baptised and where her grandparents are actually parishioners. So she had so much support from all over the world, including her own parish, and it really did break the hearts of so many people, and they're still suffering and really in their grievance space even now, because this is still very recent. It only happened in August and we're in October. So there's so many question marks and loopholes all around this whole experience that Nora sadly went through, and we may never know what really truly happened. Now, I would love for you guys to send so much of your love and prayers to her, her family, and everyone involved, including even down to the people who found her and discovered her, because it's really not it's a really horrific experience to discover a dead body. And a lot of people, of course, because it touched so many people's souls and hearts, so many people were speculating so much as this was going on, and her family was making their way from Malaysia back to Belfast and London and all of that stuff. And it was getting too much for the family, for Maeve and Sebastian especially, so they started to put out statements saying, you know, a lot of this speculation really isn't helping the situation right now, because they needed to go into grievance mode. They needed to allow themselves to even comprehend what had just happened, when it was so completely far removed from what they would think would happen in Malaysia on this like trip of a lifetime, as it was supposed to be. So I actually feel really, really emotional and really sad. I don't think I'm emotionally, I don't feel like I'm as clear as I'd like to be to channel Nora right now. I'm going to see if Spirit does want me to, and if that happens, then obviously you guys will see a video. Or if you guys are even interested in seeing that, let me know down below if you would like me to channel Nora's spirit, to see if I can get some messages from her to shed light on her case a little bit more. Yeah, it's just a lot. So please send her and her family loads and loads of love and positive healing energy. And I'm really hoping that this can spread more awareness. Sorry, I'm shaking the table. And I really hope this can spread more awareness for a lot of people on being even extra cautious and careful when you're on holiday. Like for me, I know personally, when I go on holiday now, like just having my door locked probably isn't going to be enough. But even more so when you have kids, like do your research on where you're going, how the facilities are, like do your research on who you would contact in an emergency, police, and all of these things. Even if it makes you feel or seem like a hypochondriac, like especially when you go to countries so far away, you need to understand and know their protocols first. And one other thing I found out recently, which for me, it was news, because I've always been told and growing up seeing, you know, you have to wait like 3 days before you can announce someone is missing. But actually, that's not the case. You can announce someone's missing as soon as you know that they're missing. It's just the police a lot of the time, because they don't want to, you know, waste time necessarily on, you know, a teenage runaway that's just gone to their friend's house for 6 hours because they're pissed off at their mum. They don't want to use up all their resources a lot of the time. So a lot of the time they'll coerce you into being like, wait 3 days, wait 2 days, etc., etc. But you can actually report someone missing as soon as they are missing and still continue with that report. But when it comes to situations like this, it's like, what on earth happened to Nora? How did she get into the river? How did she have no clothes on? How was she lying there as if she's going to sleep? And can you even imagine the kind of stress and worry she must have been going through, especially having her condition as well, not seeing her parents or her siblings, her brother and sister, be in a completely different foreign country in a jungle? Like, it's just so heartbreaking. So just please really know your facilities or where you're going to, know your parameters, know the protocols in case, even when it comes down to windows, can the windows be locked? Can you get a key for it and you take the key while your children are sleeping, or even whilst you're sleeping, hide it under your pillow? Because it's like you really, really, really have to be extra, extra, extra careful. And of course now, sadly, Maeve and Sebastian have gone on this holiday with their children, and one of their children has now gone missing and died, and they've come back with their hearts completely broken in a completely different space, and now a completely different life. And it's just honestly horrific. So please send so much of your love and healing and positive energy and your strength to Nora and her family and anyone that is dealing with this, honestly. So I'm sorry if for my regular subscribers, if this was like a really, really sad video, or if you're like, Nini, just do your tarot readings and manifestation, law of attraction, like stay happy. But I do a lot of shadow work. That's how I even am where I am today. And I want to provide a lot more justice and awareness on situations like this where there really isn't a definitive answer. There really, well, not yet at least anyway. I can literally feel a soul or spirit on my shoulder. And I don't know who that is just yet. I believe it's Nora. I just want us to provide love and healing to these types of situations and raise a lot more awareness on it, because maybe collectively as a consciousness we'll be able to shed more light on these situations, which will then coerce the police and the investigators to actually divulge into more work using their resources to find out more information, so there's a clear, concrete answer for the family involved, so they can try and gain some sort of justice, try and gain some sort of clarity on what on earth just happened to their lives and their daughter and their family. And yes, of course, it won't take away all of the pain, because they don't have her in the same physical way that they've known. And it's not going to bring her back in this way. I'm getting so upset. I'm trying to not cry. However, for some people, it can help ease the pain, or it can help their process of being in grievance in the first place. Either way, she deserves justice, she deserves awareness, her family deserve justice, her family deserve awareness, and all of our love and healing support. And I honestly feel like I'm gonna cry. So I don't want to cry on this video, because this isn't about me. This is about Nora and her family. And I love you guys so much. I value you. I appreciate you. I support you. You support me. And I'm so glad that we have this platform to connect with each other and love each other and help each other and guide each other. And yeah, don't forget, you are abundance, you are happiness, you are worthiness. Abundance is your birthright. You can achieve any single thing you want in life. Everything you want to create, you create in here first. And if you don't feel good about yourself right now, if you don't think things will get better, really, really focus on within and loving yourself, loving your heart, loving your inner child, and breaking free of those barriers that you have from this society, or from your parents, or from your so-called friends, or from your family members. Anyone that, or any situation that is making you feel unworthy, isn't worthy to be in your life right now. They're not worthy of your attention or your energy. And you do have the strength within to completely break free of any chains or any barriers. You can get out of the darkness into the light. I promise you. And I really feel like someone has to hear this right now. You are a beautiful phoenix, and sometimes you will go through absolute hell and die in order to be reborn and be your true amazing self. So seriously, I love you. I love you. I love you. And yeah, I'm just giving you guys so much healing. I'm going to give you guys some Reiki healing energy right now, because this is a really heavy energy, really heavy topic. So I'm going to give you guys some healing, peaceful Reiki right now. Wow, that was strong. My third eye is going crazy. Like, my Reiki right now is like on 100. I hope you guys enjoy that Reiki. Just let it integrate into you. Chill out. You might want to just sit down, have some more, and just let that Reiki just integrate into your DNA cells. As always, if any of you guys want any healing services like tarot reading, I now do healing and accountability, life coaching, and Reiki and all of that stuff. Everything will be in the description. But sorry, I'm just like, oh, it's just like, I'm just like, I wanna find out what happened to Nora. I want to help her. Yeah, this story is a lot. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys soon.